Okay, this is a vlog of my third full day in Ethiopia. Before I get into that, there was some stuff I left out. When we were driving, we drove by. There's a couple things we drove by. First, they were just explaining the difference in the, Ethiopia is Christian nation, but it's primarily Orthodox Christian, like the Orthodox Church, which is similar to the Catholic Church, but it's different. But and they were just talking about the persecution that they face from the Orthodox Christians. Like a lot of these people, they either came from Orthodox Christianity or maybe they, just didn't really have much of a Christian background. But the neighborhood that they're in, that this church is in, is Orthodox Christian. And they were just saying how, there have been times when they've been praying and in the middle of them praying, there'll be people standing outside of the compound throwing rocks at the church, and they can hear rocks, raining down. And also, when the things is, okay, when you come out of the church, if they still throwing rocks, someone can get hurt or even, die. They've throwing rocks and stones, cursing them, making it really hard for them to get licensure, like for the church. 'Cause there's certain things they want to do, but they can't because they don't have license. Because in Ethiopia, the government structure isn't as clear cut. Like the laws and the rules aren't as clear cut. Like in America, if you want to start a nonprofit or a church, as long as you do everything by the books, it's not a problem. Yeah, people can still hinder you in other areas, but it's not like where it's off of a whim, where you could like have a lawyer to actually contest it if someone actually did. But here it's not the same. So basically, they were just telling me about that, and we drove by Orthodox Church, and it was nice. And you see people outside praying and doing whatever. The women wearing like the white headscarves, and they just describe the difference, like in their headscarves versus like the hijabs that the Muslims wear. And they're also describing like the tension between Orthodox Christians and Muslims, and how in recent times it's gotten worse. It used to be like more tolerant, but it's slowly getting worse. But things still going. But they were just talking about like different persecutions that they face, and how like when you go outside of Addis Ababa, like Eddie and the other pastor were telling me that they've been provoked. Like there's this one city on the Somalian border called Jimma, and how they've been provoked, and how like they've thrown bombs in one of the churches, and how like if you retaliate when you're on the border, because in this city a lot of Somalians live there, they actually will take you over to the border and you might not come back, especially if you're Ethiopian. So just describing that kind of stuff and just the tensions that were there. We don't really face those things in America, and my personal belief is it's not just because it's Muslim and Christian. It's a different way of life, and there's different inherent struggles that these groups are facing in these countries with these poverty and these tensions that are escalating because of a lot of things in the that are going on in the world. And it's just people being people. People always divide themselves, and when they're under extreme stress and duress and pressure, they fight. And that's how I look at it. So I'm not a Muslim, but I'm not one of those Christians that'll say just because someone is Muslim that they're violent. I don't believe that. Most of the Muslims that are violent is because they're not following what their religion says. They're extremists. And there's extremist Christians as well, or people who do things in the name of God that aren't godly at all. So with that said, I think it's a deeper thing. But anyways, So let's get to day 3. Day 3 starts. They pick me up from the hotel. They pick me up at what was it, 9:30, something like that, 9:00, 9:30 or whatever. I was a little bit late, but they wanted me to play soccer with them at 6 in the morning, but obviously I wasn't going to do that. And as you know, I actually got woken up at 5:30 because you hear people praying outside. I think it was Muslims praying over a microphone. I'd never experienced anything like that. I thought it was my next door neighbor in the hotel room, but when I came to, I realized someone was praying over a microphone. So I never experienced anything like that. But they were saying that pretty much every day, like around that time, or every other day, you'll have like Muslims praying outside or Orthodox Christians praying outside. So it's different. And so, anyways, we were driving. Still in Addis, we were driving to Josh's job. Josh works in construction, and I was really seeing like how widespread some of the poverty is. You see people, which I guess what we would call like shanty towns. You see like the small little houses. You're seeing the markets, like people selling fruit and stuff in the market. But you're also seeing like people walking on the street. You see people begging. The more you go out, out in the outskirts, you see more like animals, like goats and cows and sheep and stuff like that. And so I took a lot of pictures and just talking with Simi and other people that were in the car. And so when we get out, they're taking me into the building, and it's like a condo, but their materials aren't as extravagant. They're basically using the cement, and even the way that they paint it is a lot more unsafe. Like they start at the top, from the top down, but they don't have the belt with the rope or suspension that the painters paint, or even their little suspension bridge. The ones that did use it, they do it by hand, and basically they just had like a very open and soft structure around the building where they expect you to climb up that, and you walk up to the top and you go outside and you just paint. And it's very open, so it's like if you make one wrong step, you could fall like 4 stories on to the ground and really hurt yourself or die. So anyway, you just tell me about that, and it's showing me different units and how it's like a government contract thing. It's like similar to like the projects, like what you would see in a big city where the projects buildings go up, small apartment buildings. And some of them, were there for like, maybe 2 or 3, bigger families, have maybe 2 rooms in it, but basically pretty small rooms, but it's for like people to get on their feet, like similar to how the original purpose of the projects was, have subsidized housing or whatever. So, they're showing me that, and it also, we're also going out into the field or whatever, and we see this Orthodox Christian lady walking. Me and Simi are talking, and we see, I guess, what is the priest, and he was telling me, the priest will wear like the white headscarf with like the robe. And so we see her stop, like when the priest come, and like I guess she bowed her head and he blessed her. Simi was saying it's like when they, kind of bless you and forgive you your sins or whatever. And so she just walked on, and he just walking, got his little cane. It kind of remind me of like there's this game that I used to play when I was in high school on the computer, and where you see, we have in the game you have priests, just like you're you're building civilization, you conquer it. And the way he was dressed was how those priests in that game look. They have the white robe thingy and the headscarf or whatever, and with the cane, they stick out the cane, they bless you or whatever, and they keep walking in the countryside or whatever. So anyways, we get there, and so we're walking back, And Simeon was like, you want to see us kill sheep or a ship? And I thought he said ship. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then I thought, oh, he's saying shrimp or fish. I was like, yeah, I watch y'all, kill some fish. I was like, yeah, we do that back home. And so I saw them pull out a sheep. And I was like, oh. And so they take it up. And keep in mind, this apartment building, apartment complex is not finished. And so they take the sheep up to the second floor, and you see them pull out the knives, and they bind the sheep's feet, and they kill it. And it kind of reminded me of like the scripture in the Bible said like that Jesus was like a sheep led to the slaughter. I really saw that firsthand. You see how meek the sheep is, how like it let them take him wherever it was going. It didn't fight. Even when they bound his feet, like it kind of moved a little bit, but it didn't buck like a dog would or any other type of animal. It pretty much let it struggled a little bit, but it kind of just laid there. And even when the guy was cutting its neck, it didn't really scream out. It just kind of, moved a little bit from the pain, and then it just died. So it just put everything into context, like what Jesus really went through, and just seeing that analogy and seeing it come to life. It was very humbling. So anyway, they cooked the sheep from scratch. They killed it. Then I think they gutted it, and they took its skin off. And Simeon was telling me that they sell the skin. So they took its skin off, and then they cut it open, and they started separating it. And then once they separated the meat, they cooked it. They cooked it on this. They pulled out this big pan, and they lit a fire under it, and they cooked it. And they chopped up onions and green peppers and garlic on the spot. And then after it was all cooked, they all the workers and stuff, they came together and they put the meat on this traditional bread that they eat, and they ate it. And they served me first, and it was good. It was good. It was real good. I mean, just seeing that whole process unfold was different. And so anyway, I go back, and me and Josh takes me to get some coffee, and so me and Josh talk about different things, and then we go to the church, and they have a meeting on evangelism. They really had an in-depth meeting on how they wanted to evangelize, and they were making 1-year plans and 5-year plans and stuff. And it was real intense. And they came up with 10 bullet points on evangelism, and there's a lot of stuff that that I could take back to America. And so then afterwards we went out to eat, and Eddie was just telling me about, he just asking me like, how was I feeling about my time in Ethiopia? And I was telling him I enjoyed it and put a lot of things into perspective, and I feel like my prayer life has gotten better because of how they pray. And just, not that I wasn't praying here in America, but I kind of had gotten away from certain things because I started focusing on my situation. But seeing everything that they go through put a lot of things into perspective. So I was just telling them that, how I felt stronger, that a lot of things that were tempting me before, that I was able to resist a lot better now, that I've been praying a lot harder and in this environment. And we just started talking about different things, about just the differences, and how it's a lot to be thankful for, and how a lot of the people there, they're really sacrificing a lot to be saved, because their parents come from Orthodox backgrounds, and they go home, they get beat, and how it's like some of them, it's like, even to get baptized, it's like they really having to like sneak out the house to do it. But, they're sitting there at the table laughing and stuff like everything is all good. And it's really just teaching me a lot just about even how to suffer through persecution with a smile on your face and what it means to suffer in the name of God, because the things that they're facing it doesn't compare. I mean, in America, yeah, there's persecution, like, maybe a law here or there, might keep us from doing something or put more pressure on us for doing something we used to do. But mainly the persecution that I see, like real persecution in America, is from the inside. People not being on one accord, people bickering, pastors competing against one another, being jealous, tearing down people, trying to take people out of the church, not really evangelizing this prosperity gospel where everything's about money, and how if you are in poverty, you shouldn't be in poverty. If you're a Christian, you shouldn't have any lack. Like, just really teaching stuff that, without putting it into context, because you got a whole group of people here who collectively don't have the resources the people there have, but God still loves them and they're saved. And so, like, that teaching is false, but it's a lot of things that the church in America could learn from some of these other nations. Spirit falls heavy on us too, but it's like we get caught up in stupid stuff. It's like petty, but these little foxes are destroying the vineyard. And we've got to be more productive. And just me seeing this, I always speak against this crazy, dumb stuff that we do anyway. But me seeing this even more so, it validates how I've always felt. Like, people fighting over titles, people trying to control members, and members not being grateful for their pastor's sacrifice. Pastors wanting too much adulation, it being about money when instead of it being about souls. I mean, it's ridiculous. People talking about what they don't have. Y'all don't know what y'all have. Trust me. These commercials that you seeing about, these kids starving and need, it's real. Even the kids that I was sitting at the table with, they're grown, in their 20s. Some of them, sometimes go without meals, or it's like they eat the same things, and their struggle is the struggle of, to put into context, it's the struggle of, a lot of poor people in America, like the people that are really in poverty, with no savings or no anything, but it's intensified like tenfold. And it's just, we just have to be thankful. That's really what I get out of it. We gotta be thankful and really go back to, why are you doing this? Are you in church to be like a corporate business? That's insane. You're ridiculous. A lot of these pastors need to be slapped to wake up, because it's ridiculous. A lot of these members need to be slapped. Need to be slapped back into reality. It's insane. I hate seeing people gossiping about other preachers and other this and other that, other churches. It's like the church has become a social club, or like, just a community without power. It's like, God's spirit falls when, we really pray for it, but it's not remaining, because where we acting, it's like, yeah, I'm saved now, but yet your behavior and your attributes is really not much different than people in the world. People in the world gossip and backbite and do all this other stuff. It shouldn't be in the church, but people are people, and this is the struggles that we have, but it's insane. And when you really realize how much you need your brother and sister, when you really realize it's not about you, then I think that's when the church can come together and we can all be relying on God's Spirit, not our own ingenuity, not our own intelligence, not our own resources, and not misappropriating God's blessings for our own personal and individual church gain, or to brag, or, you campaigning to be a bishop and all this other foolish, idiotic behavior. Like, we need to get right, because in the context of the rest of the world, you look stupid. And I say that to any pastor, bishop, so-called apostle. You know, you guys have no idea. And it's insane. And you need to get it together. And I hope that, I pray that we all just take a really good look, myself included, inside, and just ask God to just continue to make us over. We're thankful for what we have. I'm thankful for the comforts I have in America. I'm thankful for the blessings, but I realize it's not by anything I've done. I happen to be born in a country that, for good and bad reasons, is able to thrive while others aren't. But I don't take that lightly. I realize it's my responsibility to give back, not just to people in my own country, but to others. So the night ended, and I came back to my hotel room, and just with a lot of deep reflection. Thank you for tuning in. I know this one was pretty long, but I just had to get us off my chest, and just to take it back to the old school Travis. To all y'all fake people out there that meet the description that I said, fall back, hypocrites. Fall back and slap yourself.